Right from the moment the rain hit Spa in 1998, the tension was absolutely electrifying. Michael Schumacher stormed into the McLaren garage, face beet red, fists clenching, shouting at the top of his lungs that David Coulthard had tried to take him out after a rear-end collision that destroyed a race that had been his to lose. Ferrari mechanics and McLaren crew instantly became a human barricade, forming a wall to prevent what could have easily escalated into a physical confrontation. Schumacher's fury was no exaggeration. It was visceral, a physical manifestation of the high stakes and the chaos unfolding in one of the most volatile races of the decade. Coulthard later recalled that wall of mechanics and noted that Schumacher's body language suggested an intent to intimidate, making the preventive barrier essential. The pit lane was a tinderbox and the Ferrari driver was the spark, ready to ignite a confrontation the sport was unprepared for. Let's break it down. In those treacherous conditions at Spa, every millisecond mattered. Schumacher was commanding the race, pushing the limits, and the rear-ending of Coulthard's McLaren wasn't just a simple mistake. It obliterated the chance for a monumental win and nearly destroyed the car he had managed lap after lap. From the perspective of the Tifosi, this was the total collapse of a dominant performance, a wound that cut deep into Ferrari's championship narrative. When Schumacher stormed the garage, the spectacle of a two-time world champion in full rage mode left the paddock frozen. The crew understood that restraint was needed, forming a barrier not to chastise but to prevent a physical fight in one of F1's most scrutinized arenas. The circuits are firing on all cylinders here. S1 cheater. Schumacher felt betrayed. He had been executing a flawless lead, and Coulthard's slowdown sabotaged it. S2 status. His race victory imploded, a collapse from dominant pace to disaster. S4 fairness. The imbalance of risk versus outcome was glaring. Schumacher had everything to lose, and Coulthard's maneuver created asymmetric vulnerability. S7 tribal identity. Ferrari Tifosi watched in horror as their hero teetered on the edge, a public threat that demanded intervention. Coulthard's own account confirms it. He saw the intensity and the potential for escalation. The threat was tangible, and the mechanics' intervention prevented what might have been a headline-grabbing fight. For F1 fans, the drama spilled into the paddock, a reminder that even seasoned professionals can be pushed to their limits when stakes are extreme. Schumacher's rage combined fear, frustration, and moral outrage. He felt endangered, convinced that the rear-ending could have had catastrophic consequences. His language, "You tried to kill me," was hyperbolic but not unfounded in his mind. The wound for fans is amplified by witnessing a controlled racing genius nearly lose his composure, exposing a crack in the armor that people thought was impenetrable. David Coulthard confirms that the body language and verbal aggression warranted intervention. This validation serves multiple circuits. S6 concealment, the near incident was contained. S2 status, Schumacher's race crumbled. And S5 schadenfreude for rivals watching Ferrari's precarious position. The Tifosi perspective adds S7 tribal identity. Their hero, unrestrained, almost turned aggression inward on a competitor. The fans feel the pain viscerally. The incident reinforces loyalty while deepening the wound. They experienced not only the collapse of a leading race, but also the emotional volatility of their champion exposed for all to see. The sequence is dramatic. Rain, collision, mechanical destruction, pit lane storming, verbal confrontation, physical barrier, each layer amplifying the next. Every beat stacks circuits: S1, S2, S4, S7, S6. Even S5 schadenfreude emerges subtly for rival fans, who see a dominant Ferrari moment jeopardized. Schumacher's red-hot rage wasn't just a fleeting moment. The collision ruined his race strategy, caused extensive damage, and potentially affected championship points. S2 status and S4 fairness converge here. The dominant driver's fall, amplified by asymmetric conditions, becomes a narrative Tifosi can't ignore. Next, S3 coalition and S7 tribal rival identity interact. Ferrari and McLaren crews acted as a coalition against the eruption of a single driver's wrath. The incident becomes a study in paddock diplomacy, preventing violence and maintaining the spectacle. Fans perceive the subtle human dynamics, deepening the wound as they see their hero's power checked by circumstance rather than competition. By mid-race, S6 concealment and S2 status intertwine. The human barrier shields Coulthard from confrontation, keeping the incident contained but visible enough to satisfy Tifosi craving drama. The wound is multi-layered: mechanical loss, emotional exposure, and near violence. S5 Schadenfreude flickers for rival fans. The unstoppable Schumacher is temporarily checked, frustrated by circumstance, a rare humanizing crack in the armor. Yet the wound for Ferrari Tifosi remains dominant. The hero survives, but his dominance is undermined, his wrath witnessed, a psychological jolt. Toward the finale, we observe the lingering wound, Schumacher's fury, the destruction of opportunity, the near confrontation, all unresolved. Fans are left holding the tension. The incident isn't neatly wrapped. Schumacher's rage, validated by Coulthard, confirmed by the barrier of mechanics, remains a wound held open for Tifosi. Every lap, every turn, every risk in F1 is a potential detonator. Fans remain on edge, knowing that dominance is fleeting, that a single error can ignite fury, and that the line between passion and aggression is razor thin. The memory of Spa's pit lane confrontation is fresh, and Tifosi are bracing. Will Ferrari recover? Will Schumacher control his temper or let rage dictate another outcome? The wound remains unresolved, alive, and the circuits continue to fire in anticipation of the next dramatic clash. The drama didn't end in that pit lane because the ripples were felt across every garage. When you look at the way the mechanics stepped in, you're looking at the unsung heroes of F1, the people who keep the sport from descending into a brawl. These crews have seen it all, but that day at Spa was different. It wasn't just the collision, it was the way the championship momentum seemed to shift right in front of everyone's eyes. You have to wonder, if those mechanics hadn't been there, what would have happened next? Think about the atmosphere for a second. The rain at Spa is legendary, but that day it felt colder, harder, and more unforgiving than usual. You could see the water spraying off the cars, turning the track into a skating rink, and then you see Schumacher, a man who lives for precision, losing his cool. It's a total contrast to the professional cold-hearted racer we grew to know over the next 2 decades. But that was the human side of the sport, the side that fans actually connect with, even when it's ugly. The Tifosi didn't want to see their hero lose it like that, but they also didn't want to see him getting screwed by a backmarker. That conflict is exactly what makes the wound persist even years later. Even today, when analysts look back at the championship battles of that era, Spa 98 is the asterisk that keeps appearing. It's not just about the points lost, it's about the psychological toll. You don't walk into a rival's garage and start a fight unless you're truly at the end of your tether. For a driver of Schumacher's caliber, that was a massive admission of frustration. He wasn't just mad at Coulthard, he was mad at the situation, mad at the rain, and maybe, deep down, mad that he couldn't control everything. And that's the real tragedy of a great driver, when they realize they're human just like the rest of us. The paddock hasn't really changed since that day, has it? Sure, the technology is better, the safety is light years ahead, and the pit lane is more controlled, but the temperaments are still the same. Drivers are still racing on the edge of a knife, and teams are still playing the role of peacekeepers. Spa 98 is just one of many moments where the sport looked into the mirror and saw something it didn't like. It's part of the identity, part of the culture, and part of the reason why. No matter how much the rules change or the technology evolves, the core of the sport remains the same. It's about the people, it's about Schumacher, it's about Coulthard, and it's about the men in the garage who had to keep the peace. It's about the fans who felt the pain and the triumph. It's about the entire ecosystem that makes F1 the spectacle that it is. And Spa 98 is just a part of that story, a part that we'll keep revisiting as long as we care about the sport. Because at the end of the day, Formula One isn't just a business, it's a passion. And passion, by definition, is messy. It's filled with rage, it's filled with joy, and it's filled with moments that we can never forget. So don't look for the perfect ending. Look for the drama, look for the conflict, look for the moments where the facade breaks and the true character of the drivers comes out. Because those are the moments that truly matter. Those are the moments that make us feel something, that make us argue with our friends, and that make us wake up early on a Sunday morning just to watch the lights go out. Spa 98 is just one of those moments, but it's a powerful one. A moment that will continue to echo as long as there's an F1 championship to be won. In the final analysis, the incident at Spa is a reflection of everything that makes F1 so compelling. It's the intersection of technology and humanity, the collision of ambition and reality, and the constant underlying pressure that comes with the pursuit of perfection. And when that pursuit is interrupted, whether by the weather, by another driver, or by a simple mistake, the reaction is often explosive. That's not a flaw, that's a feature. It's part of what makes the sport what it is, and it's why, despite the controversies and the drama, we'll always come back for more. As we look toward the future, the lessons of the past remain our guide. We know what can happen when things go wrong, we know the consequences of losing control, and we know that the sport is at its most interesting when the balance between passion and professionalism is in doubt, and that's why we'll keep watching. We'll keep watching for the next Spa, the next confrontation, and the next moment that defines the season. Because for us, that's what it means to be an F1 fan. It means embracing the chaos, understanding the drama, and always staying tuned for what's coming next. Final reminder to all the Tifosi out there, the season isn't over until the final checkered flag falls. Stay focused, stay engaged, and keep your eyes on the pit lane. Anything can happen, and in Formula One, it usually does. The story is far from over, and the next chapter is already waiting to be written. The madness of Spa 98 is a memory, but the spirit of that race lives on in every single lap we watch today. Keep the passion alive, and we'll see you at the next turn. The intensity of these rivalries hasn't softened, it's only gotten sharper. The teams understand that every single tenth of a second is worth millions in sponsorship and glory. That's why the pit lane is monitored, the radio channels are scrubbed, and the drivers are told to keep a lid on it. But they can't. The fire is too hot. When you put the best drivers in the world behind the wheel, you're going to get flare-ups. You're going to get the occasional collision, the occasional outburst, and the occasional reminder that these are human beings, not machines. And that's okay. In fact, it's what we want. We don't want robots. We want the passion, we want the rivalry, and we want to see them fight for every inch of the track. If that means a little bit of drama in the pit lane once in a while, so be it. It's part of the charm of the sport. And as long as they're putting on a show, we'll be right there, watching every single second. So let's keep the debate going. Let's keep the analysis coming. Let's keep the passion for Formula One alive, because it's a sport unlike any other, and it deserves all the scrutiny and appreciation we can give it. We'll see you at the track.